welcome to Giving Team Barbershop Talk. Join me in an interview with the federal election candidates. Thank you so much for making the time and coming to the Giving Team's Barbershop Talk.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We're doing this just to engage the candidates, the federal candidates in this particular election, because we think this is a very important election for our time. And that being said, maybe we just go straight to the questions, a little bit of introduction about you, your background, and why you're running to be a representative of this area.
Yeah, well, my name is Cashton Perry. I'm a manufacturing worker and a graduate from Algonquin College's welding program. Our main platform in this election, our main slogan is that we want to fight for peace and prosperity, not war and austerity. Mm-hmm. We see a major shift going on in all the parties, from the Liberals to the Conservatives to the NDP, away from even maintaining our current social programs, mm-hmm. In their public state, and pushing for privatization, or in the case of the NDP, not pushing back hard enough against the privatization of our programs, mm-hmm. and major conciliation towards the US in terms of foreign policy and general militarization. We see a major push for more military spending that we want to fight against because we know that it's going to come at a cost of funding for healthcare and education and other things. So mm-hmm. that's our main push right now.
Oh, amazing! It's very fun that you point. Some people are saying this. They feel like this election is more about US than Canada, and from what I'm getting from you, like it's pretty much like. Do you feel the same? Like we are focusing much on what is going on from the US, and pretty much not giving the same attention to the issues that we are facing the residents here?
I think the US and its policy, its trajectory is setting the ground for how we talk about things in Beautiful. Canada, just because of its major influence and our major ties to its economy, and through other things, especially as Canada's part of a NATO, which the US basically leads for its own benefit at the cost of other NATO countries. So the US is setting the stage for things, but we basically have to create a response in Canada to those changes, which is not based on Canadian monopoly interests, the interests of the top richest people who are influencing the major parties in Parliament, but a working class and other exploited people's response that'll benefit our interests.
How will you stay connected with the residents here?
We will continue to be involved in the people's struggles that are going on currently, because the way that we operate, we don't aim to just get elected and then do things once in Parliament. We see the way that things change as not stemming from Parliament, but stemming from people's organizations, mass organizations, and their struggle in the streets and elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So we'll continue to be involved in the Peace and Solidarity movement in support of Palestine, which we're currently involved in. We'll continue to be involved in the labor movement and unions and other organizations. And that's where our policies really stem from, is these mass-based interests that represent the vast majority of people. So, we're not going to be looking for the approval of the chambers of commerce or, all these big business organizations, these monopoly groups, and we'll continue to do so if elected to Parliament.
Amazing. And with regards to the economy, and you alluded a little bit, like given everything that's happening with the US and the tariffs and the cost of living and whatnot, what specific policies are you, particularly you, or programs do you propose to support small businesses, and especially with the increasing cost of running small businesses?
Yeah, our policy for that is, for small businesses and for workers, we see the main issue being the increase or the tendency towards monopolies in all of these businesses, and with that comes the increase in cost for certain things, and we want to go after that. We want to nationalize, put under public ownership and democratic control the major industries, auto, steel, other things, especially those that are affected by tariffs, which will, if they continue to run privately, will end up laying off thousands, tens of thousands of workers. So we want to put that under public ownership and guarantee those people's jobs with good wages. And we also want to put price controls on things like food, fuel, and rent. We don't think anybody should be paying more than 20% of their income on rent, and we want to put a cap on that.
Yeah. And with any plan with like the young people and the cost of living, and for example, issue of home ownership, or even keeping a roof over their head. Any plan for that too?
Yeah, for young people, one thing that we advocate for in terms of democratic rights is we want to lower the voting age to 16 because people are, engaged. Many people are working at that age, and I think they should have the right to determine, under what conditions am I living in this country? Am I working? Am I, going to go to post-secondary education? They should have a say in that. So that's one thing we propose. In terms of cost of living that people are facing now, I'm, perfectly aware of that. Myself being a worker, a young worker, we want to make it easier for people to organize and create unions in their workplaces, because people are, the conditions for workers have been deteriorated, and the rights that they have have been steadily declining. So we want to reverse that by not allowing them, but empowering them to express their interests in an organized way. And along with the rent cap that we're pushing for and have been fighting for even before the elections, and will continue to fight for after the elections, we want to build 2 million units of social housing, publicly owned housing that's not for profit, and this will create massive employment, first of all, in the construction of these houses, and will be a stable base for people. Especially, we want them to be rent geared to income, not for profit.
You touched a little bit about you're advocating for lowering the voting age to 16 years. Have you guys thought of any implication, any positive or negative consequences out of this policy?
Yeah, I think it. We see mainly positive outcomes from this, but I think something that is kind of lacking in Canadian culture is like a democratic culture, like people understanding their role in politics and understanding politics as something that is not just for the rich or like well-educated, quote unquote, but something that is the right and duty of everybody to engage in and to advocate for their interests. So yeah, I think having these political discussions in an impactful way, in a way that like actually makes a difference in like high school, where these younger voters will be, will kind of foster that and allow people to develop their political understanding earlier on because they see that it has real implications. So.
And with regards to civic engagement, Ottawa has pretty much a declining voter turnout, and we're really hoping that this particular election being the special one, we'll have some people, we'll encourage people to go out and vote, but the voting is declining at a very fast pace. And even some examples, area like Vanier area, both the last federal election and even provincial election, they had less than 40% of people, eligible voters going out to vote. And perhaps going back to the comment you made about civic engagement, what do you think are the root causes of these declining voting or civic participation? And what civic engagement platform does your party and you particularly?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think the reason there's a lot of apathy around not just voting but politics in general is because people don't really see the major parties as either they don't see them as representing their interests in large part. They don't really see a way to change their real material conditions under this system and with these parties that are in power or could potentially be in power if they voted a different way. And another policy that we fight for to remedy that, we don't think that we can completely fix everything under this system through only reforms, but one thing that we push for is mixed member proportional representation, so that you don't only have to look at your local riding poll and see, oh, either the Conservatives or the Liberals are ahead, so I'll only vote for one because any other vote will be a waste. With mixed member proportional representation, you'll vote for your local riding candidate, but also for a party list. So you can vote for any party, and it will add up on a national scale, and then seats will be distributed according to your vote. So you can vote for the actual party that you think will represent your interests, and then it'll have a real effect with the national conglomeration of votes that they get. So,
but that requires some sort of election reforms.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And again, this was part of even Trudeau's promise, like 2016,
yes.
2017, to
exactly,
change, to reform the current election. But again, with everything that is happening, anyway, I'll leave that to you guys, the politicians, to figure it out. But again, it's nice to hear that.
I'll just make a comment on that, because I don't think it's only up for the politicians to make these changes. Like I said, like people, ordinary, regular people, working class people, other people. It's the people that make history rather than these people in power. The people in power can guide one way or the other the current trajectory that things are going in. But if we want real change, it's not going to come from waiting for people at the top to make that. It's going to come from people organizing in a mass movement in order to fight for the interests of the vast majority of people, which are currently not represented.
So perhaps, like if we just put some numbers together, like if, for example, let's say use, or even here, like 46% votes. Like that's another 54% of people not voting.
Yeah, exactly.
So like
a lot of people that could be engaged, and maybe they do see a way for politics to be in their interest, but it's not presented to them right now.
Okay, now with this particular election, affordability is pretty much a top priority for everybody, especially the residents, speaking for myself. And one of the questions that pretty much everyone is thinking when they're deciding who to cast their vote for is what's a top priority with regards to affordability?
Well, like I kind of said earlier, what we've been fighting for the past few years as a major campaign is for price controls on food, fuel, and housing, because these are the things that are being increasingly monopolized. Like Loblaws, Metro, Sobeys, all these small number of companies with massive market share, able to, in major ways, determine certain prices, above what people would want to pay normally. And yeah, we say that they should not be making these, tens of billions of dollars in profit. It should be regulated, and the prices of food should be under strict control and lowered significantly. It's happened in the past on, I think, 2 or 3 occasions. The Canadian government has regulated food prices and other prices, so it can be done again, and it's not that it just should be done again, but it's absolutely necessary, unless people are going to be willing to see their standards of living across the board falling. So,
a past candidate was sitting right there, and they raised the concern of increased immigration as one of the root causes to problems like housing. The fact that we've been bringing in a lot of immigrants who then we don't have houses to house them. And now the question to you, apart from social service or subsidized houses, the plan that you said before, what are some other solutions that you see fits the housing crisis that we have right now? And at your personal level, do you think what's your take to comments like the root cause of housing crisis is the migration problem, the migration system?
I think that's a complete lie. It's completely shifting the blame from who's really responsible, which is the ruling class and the monopolies, and the increased commodification of housing. So people, but more so the system, seeing housing as something to make profit off of, and speculate on, buy low, sell high, shifting that understanding to the most vulnerable people in our society. It's a complete scapegoating of where the real blame lies onto a group that has no responsibility for that. As well, on supply in general, which is what they usually talk about as, it's in higher demand and there's not enough supply. There are lots of houses being built, lots of condos in Toronto, people know, but these are, again, if it's being built for profit, it's going to be put at market price, which is as much as people can pay for, which is gonna eat up people's whole paychecks, which is what is happening. Most of this housing is privately owned, for profit, but even 30 years ago, around 2000, maybe 1990, about 10% of housing was publicly owned, and now that's less than 1%.
Wow.
So we see the real shift in priority for the government away from providing things according to people's needs and letting it go to the market where private speculators, monopolies, banks can make billions of dollars off of people. So yeah, we want to see that reversed, and in a decisive way, where we don't want it to be reversible again, because we see where it leads to somewhere like now.
But if someone is to play devil advocate here and say, okay, but you can clearly see, for example, like how many, like right now they say around 120,000 residents in Ottawa don't have access to family doctor. And clearly, because there are many people coming in than the number of doctors that we have, therefore then we end up having people who don't have access to family doctor. And so what's your take to rhetoric like this?
I think it's the same basic principle, is that our government, we see the Doug Ford, the Conservative government in Ontario, has been slashing healthcare funding for years. So it's not much of a surprise when we see people unable to access family doctors, when the government has been pushing towards privatization of healthcare, again, for profit, for his clique there of private medical companies. Yeah, there's been billions of dollars cut from healthcare, our healthcare system. And it has the same effects as housing. It's the same basic principle, I think.
And again, I'll bring you back to the small business and the U.S. tariffs. There's pretty much a concern right now. I will just use a very simple example here. Like at the barbershop here, pretty much 90% of our equipments, if you look at the label, they're made in the U.S. With the current situation that's happening between the US and Canada, we're pretty much even worried. Okay, what happens if this equipment burnt? Like, how much are we going to buy it? Or even the supplies. What happens if the stock finish? How much will it cost us? And that's pretty much the same concern to many other, especially small businesses. And you, let's say, come on Monday, you elected and you're in the parliament, and in a best case scenario, the winning party in a minority government, they need your vote for you to keep them afloat. What's some of your top priorities that you are like, you know what, for me to support any of the parties, or me going to the parliament, these are my top priority with regards to small businesses and the current tariff wars?
Yeah, well, we're in favor of reducing our reliance on the U.S. I think that's very clear that that needs to happen, and we're in favor of fair and multilateral trade with other countries than the U.S., including countries in Europe, China, and others. And I think with China specifically, there's been a concerted effort by not just originating from the U.S., but a big push from the U.S. to isolate China from other countries, and especially Canada, where they're very reliant on a lot of our resources. And I think that that effort should not continue. I think we should have a normal relationship with China. They're the world manufacturing hub. And also I think our party is in favor of increasing production within Canada. There's a lot of things that we can make here that our ruling class, or the monopoly circles in Canada, have found it cheaper to manufacture elsewhere, and because they can make higher profits, pay lower wages, and I think we can revitalize a lot of that production in Canada, especially public manufacturing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, again, closing up this discussion, to some of us, I haven't voted yet, and I'll be finalizing my final thoughts this weekend, and hopefully go and vote on Monday. To first-time voters like myself, will be going on Monday to vote for the first time, walk into the ballot and seeing a candidate, a liberal candidate, conservative candidate, the Green Party, Libertarian, the other parties. Why should I cast my vote to you?
I think voting for the Communist Party sends a very clear message to the ruling class parties and to the ruling class behind them and funding them, that people are really striving for major change. our end goal, is for a socialist Canada, where the working class is in power and the ruling monopolies are kicked out of power. And with a major tick up in the Communist Party vote, people start to see it as a real option, which we aim to be. But again, it's not just a vote that we're looking for. We're looking to build a strong movement, which can continue this during elections, but also after elections. Voting communist helps to build that. And another thing is, there's this tendency of looking at the polls and seeing, okay, this party's a little bit behind, so maybe I can support them and they'll be a little better than the next party. But that kind of idea gives our full decision-making power to the ruling class and the how the narrative is shaped when polling is taken. And even just getting 1,000 more votes for this one candidate, this one bigger party candidate than the other, it doesn't send much of a message. But 1,000 more votes for the Communist Party will send a very clear message that people need real change. So,
and it's very funny. Like, I came here 2017, and when I moved here, because like there's pretty much talk of liberal and conservatives, I always thought maybe Canada has the same system as the US, where we only have two political parties. But when I sat down, and especially this particular election, because eligible to vote, then I pay attention to pretty much the details. Then that's when I even clicked on the Elections Canada's website to go and see like how many candidates and who are they and what at least to know how many are they. And I was very shocked to see there were numerous political parties. And to me, like, it really stands as what I say, like, that's civic engagement. If people are not engaged in the civic participation, then they don't even care or know who is running and how they can get their voices heard.
Yeah, it's we do have the ability to elect people on a more local basis, potentially. But like I said, with the polling system, it does end up kind of being a 2.5 party system, is what we call it.
Yeah.
No party except for the Liberals or Conservatives have ever been in government, which is why we really push for this this extra parliamentary movement that is the real vehicle for change in our eyes.
But someone also argue, okay, but I see these other quote-unquote small parties. They either are on the left or on the right, like the NDP, the Liberal, the Green, and whatever. They pretty much speak the same language. On the other side, why not just have two parties that are bigger and include everybody? How about you guys joining your voices there and sharing your ideas there? Like, how do you respond to such comments?
So, I think you're kind of asking, like, why don't we try to be in the big parties and try to express our opinions and try to change it? We have a very specific reason for our party, at least, why we need a communist party, and that's because we see parties as representing classes or certain sections of classes. So we see the Liberals and Conservatives as being parties of the monopolies, the big business, big capitalists, and the NDP as kind of labor sort of party of unions, but that vacillates heavily and really plays to try to not anger the big business. Is that there are these two major classes with people like small business owners in between, where there's a large working class and then a small section of the owning class. And our party aims to be the party that represents the interests and consists of members of the working class and other oppressed people. So we don't think that it's possible, basically, to represent the working class's interests fully in any other party. So that's why we organize within the Communist Party and have that working class perspective.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, and as we finalize right now, what one personal value or experience that influence your leadership, or when you get elected, will influence how you govern this riding?
I think I kind of mentioned it earlier, but ties to the mass movements and to the people and the workers in Ottawa is the real driving force behind my and our party's decisions and the way we fight and organize. And I don't think other parties really have that connection that we do. Yeah, that's what I would say.
He started, he talked about the influence of Trump in the Canadian election.
In this particular one?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's in how the policies and everything is going right now. So, the center town area, what is one, I have a question which is very important. Well, how do you guys think that Trump stated something, the issues of drugs crossing from Canada into the US? And I think I work with the mental health field, and that's a major concern we've seen in the society, precisely centered down where we all are. And it affects a lot of businesses of fentanyl and all the rest, and the homelessness caused by these drugs on the streets, which we all see affecting businesses in centered down.
Yeah, I think we have our approach to drug addiction issues, which is based on like a healthcare-based approach, and we also see the issue of drug addiction and other social issues as stemming from this social crisis that we're seeing, the economic, deepening of the economic issues, and so we want to address the root economic problems which push people into these problems. One way that it happens, it's not the only way, but and also being able to provide for people a healthcare-based approach to recovering from drug addictions. We want to save the safe injection sites that I think the Doug Ford government is planning on shutting. That's not going to help the crisis. It's absolutely going to make it worse, and people are going to be dying in the streets when and if that happens. And people have been pointing that out for years. And in terms of Trump talking about the drugs flowing from Canada to the US, I think that was extremely exaggerated. I think it was something like 30 kilograms of fentanyl or something in some duration, year or 2 years. It's not great, but it's not the primary issue. It's clearly a bargaining chip by Trump in order to force Canada into certain things, and they were able to make the Liberal government concede on spending over $1 billion in enforcing extra border measures and funding, I think, like Black Hawk helicopters or something flying around the border. This is just a concession to Trump, and Trump was just using it as a bargaining chip, and we should not have conceded to that narrative. So,
No, I have a friend of mine who struggled homelessness some times back, and he used to tell us like a good number of people, especially people struggling with homelessness, become drugs addicts because they fall into drugs to cope with the homelessness.
yeah.
Like if you're sleeping outside and you're cold, you almost suffering frostbite.
Yeah.
The only solution is to smoke something to keep your body warm and stuff. So like it's like what you say, like it's pretty much
Exactly.
a multi-dimensional problem that need the societal solution, the root causes. Anyway, okay, thank you so much, man. This is
Yes,
amazing,
thank
and
you very much.
all the best for Monday. And myself, I haven't voted yet. We'll be making some final decisions this weekend, and hopefully, for people looking for a platform right now, can they find it somewhere?
Yes, you can find our platform at communist-party.ca. There should be a button that says platform, and it'll be there.
Beautiful.
And again, we are trying to build a movement, a working class and oppressed people's movement that can last beyond an election. We're active in the peace and solidarity movement with Palestine, in housing advocacy, in the labor movement. So, we're a different kind of party. We don't just hope for your votes, but we fight for all of our interests before and after elections. So you can check out our platform there, and you can also get organized there to join the struggle.
Amazing.
And
Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Cut now.